civilizations. Alien civilizations. Alien civilization.
Alien stuff.
Alien civilizations. Ancient wisdom. Cosmic consciousness.
These are the promises and claims that turned Billy Carson, this guy, into a multi-millionaire guru.
This war, they had these destroyers like Death Stars. They don't call them that, but they call them the Brahmastra and Brahmastra Honda weapons that actually can release a weapon that can destroy planets.
But recently, everything unraveled for poor, sweet, naive Billy when he went on a podcast with this guy. All right, this guy, smart guy. This guy's pretty smart.
When you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there, I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up Matthew 27, where it has Jesus being crucified.
Today's video is about Billy Carson, what he believes, and how this is probably the wildest humiliation I think I've seen in quite a while. We're going to be going over Billy's disastrous debate with scholar Wes Huff, and we will watch in real time as Billy Carson fumbles basic questions about the very texts he claims to be an expert on, that is ancient texts.
There's a lot of internal evidences that disqualify the Gospel of Barnabas, never mind the fact that we don't have any evidence of it prior to the 14th century.
And then we follow the most entertaining part, which is the fallout as Carson allegedly scrambles to erase all evidence of this disastrous, I'm going to use that a lot, performance.
By the way, there were countless copyright claims being filed to protect Billy to have the videos taken down, but it seems now that there's so many clips surfacing that the videos are now being left alone.
This is the video that Billy Carson does not want you to see. Billy Carson doesn't want you to watch Wes's video either, or follow him. You can follow him. There'll be a link in the description down below if you want to learn about actual ancient stuff and not listen to Billy Carson. I get secondhand embarrassment when I watch Billy Carson. I've never really watched Billy Carson aside from seeing him on Joe Rogan's podcast and seeing way more YouTube shorts and TikToks than I've ever wanted to see.
There's people living on the moon. There's already a breakaway civilization there. We've been there for a very long time. People were on Mars, and a few whistleblowers have come forward and said that the people on Mars look like the ancient Egyptians.
Algorithms just pushing him down my throat, him talking about the emerald tablets and I don't know, just nonsense, dude. I'm big into ancient texts in the same way Billy is, but instead of me trying to capitalize on it and make a bunch of money, I just think it's goofy as fuck. The emerald tablets of Thoth kind of look like strips of candy, and you know something about candy. I do. Go to sour.gg to buy my candy. I have a candy company called Sour Boys. We make strips of candy, a new flavor every single week of either strips or gummies. We have sour gummies. They've been hailed as the best sour gummies in the entire world. The strips, they're not the best for sure, but they've got less sugar, natural dyes, natural flavors. They are absolutely delicious, all right? But I wouldn't say they're the best, all right? I think that would be lying. Should I shit talk my own product? They are the best, and it's made by a team of people that actually give a about what they're doing, and we're making cool new shit every single week. That's the point. It's difficult to make the best if you're using more natural ingredients. Gummies, it's a lot easier, but the extrusion process for strips. We've got a lot of flavors right now. Stuff is in stock. Go to sour.gg and buy some before we sell out before Christmas, because we absolutely will. So anyways, back to Billy. Billy thinks it's all real and that the Anunnaki actually put us here to harvest gold for their ships, and then when the planet went dry, they wiped us out and then dipped.
Even in the Bible, it says they call them the Anak, the A-N-A-K, and they're calling these people megalithic giants.
Billy, if you didn't know, is a prominent figure in alternative spirituality and fringe science circles, and he became prominent in the 2010s. He was born in 1971, and he had no formal education beyond high school, which doesn't mean you're a dumbass. All right, there's a lot of smart people who went to YouTube University or whatever. What the hell was that for? The most academically that Billy has accomplished is a certificate of science with an emphasis on neuroscience from MIT, which is pretty cool, and a certificate course on ancient civilizations from Harvard University he acquired in 2019. But he positions himself as an expert on ancient civilizations, extraterrestrial life, and esoteric knowledge. You may have seen TikToks like this.
NASA may be covering up evidence of an ancient civilization on Mars. We're seeing images from Mars that defy common sense.
And also, let's not forget about this classic.
NASA has a ship called the NSX. They've been working on this for about 15 years, and this is the warp ship that they're going to utilize to travel faster than light.
These things are so so wild. I mean, the leaps and the comments. Look at the comments. There's people who literally believe everything this guy says.
There's a supermassive pyramid in Antarctica.
They've got that thing wrong with their brain where they just believe what the opposite of the mainstream narrative is.
You're a walking nuclear explosion.
Hey, don't always believe the mainstream narrative for sure. Definitely look into stuff deeper, but maybe there's something in between believing the opposite and believing what you're being told. Maybe there's something in between. It's called critical thinking. Outside of being an expert of ancient texts and his life's mission of finding the truth, he's actually accomplished quite a lot. He was a youth basketball coach around 14 years. Pretty cool. He created a website in 2009 called shecanplay.org, which over 2,000 colleges used to help recruit players. He was also the CEO of multiple tech companies, and he even formed his own record label called Pantheon Elite Records and produced his own music. It's so good. Just kidding. I don't want to play any of it because he'll probably copyright strike me and send me a cease and desist. This guy's done a lot. So where did it all go wrong, my friends?
When you research the Enuma Elish, you discover the full creation of this solar system.
I'm not exactly sure, but there's something in the water, I think. All right. I think you got Alex Jones, you got Terrence Howard. We covered him earlier this year with his ramblings on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Boron is contractive, but the moment you get to carbon, you balance it out. It gets to a perfect balance of plus and minus 4. So it's a double tone.
And Billy Carson as well, also on Joe Rogan's podcast. Alex Jones, also on Joe Rogan's podcast. There's a lot of just awesome stuff. Just lies. But, you know, there's some truth to all these people's claims. It's interesting. Hey, buddy, how about you make like a baby and head out? How about that? Make like a baby. AB conversation, see your way out of it, you stupid child, you stupid baby. Boom. Carson's claims primarily center around the existence of advanced ancient civilizations. That's a paraphrasing, but that's what it's about. Extraterrestrial influences on human history, that type of thing. Hidden spiritual truths, you know, the old school things.
When you understand the fractals and the fractal nature of the universe, you can then see these fractals within where? The human body.
He also asserts that ancient texts like the Emerald Tablets of Thoth contain coded information about humanity's cosmic origins.
The Emerald Tablets of Thoth are said to be about 36,000 to 38,000 years old.
I've talked about Hermeticism before on my channel. I read a lot about it. I read multiple books by Hermes Trismegistus, which is like Hermes and Thoth, they speculate. But I did it because I'm writing story and I'm like trying to take inspiration from it, not because I think that it holds power and has anything to do with my modern life. There is wisdom to be found in it, of course. Of course. Every ancient book, there's wisdom to be found. But I think that maybe the alien thing is kind of stupid. Carson proposes that ETs, genetically engineered human beings, and that powerful elites have suppressed that knowledge. Genius! And these are his teachings combined with the rapid growth of Carson's online following, beginning with the launch of his multimedia company, Forbidden Knowledge, back in 2012. That's how we get here today.
The deeper I got, the bigger the rabbit hole got, and I began to realize we had been visited in the ancient past.
Through his various social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, etc., Carson disseminates his theories to a growing audience of dumbasses. Just kidding. A lot of people really like it. It's entertaining. I'm part of his audience. I watch his stuff.
You read the Epic of Atrahasis and the Enuma Elish and the Seven Tablets of Creation, similar creation stories. They talk about the fact that they took the existing being on this planet, which would be us, our cousins, actually, our cousins. They weren't Homo sapiens sapien yet, and they genetically modified them.
I've never given him money or anything like that, but I think it's entertaining to think about, you know, wait a second, aliens or whatever? Carson's fairly charismatic, and he presents things with a style and allure of forbidden knowledge. It resonates with people, and especially people who are seeking alternative explanations for life's biggest questions, which is fair. It's completely fair.
The Anunnaki even they talk about in one of the tablets very briefly about fashioning people, and it was shot down. The idea or concept about making people from scratch, almost making them out of thin air, which sounds like robotics, it was shot down because one person said, remember what happened on the home planet. So something happened with these fashioned beings that was not savory, right?
Having an alternative is good. If it gives your life value, whatever, believe it. It's not like it's gonna hurt anybody if you believe that extraterrestrials are what genetically modified. Like, you can be dumb by choice if you want. It's not like it changes anything about your life at all or where you go when you die. Like, it doesn't change anything. They ain't coming back for you, buddy. I have a lot of respect for people who choose to believe things, is my point. Now back to Billy. In spite of his lack of academic credentials, Carson has proclaimed himself as an expert in fields ranging from Egyptology.
He would go into these gigantic stone boxes and he would then transfer his consciousness from his body into another body. According to the ancient Egyptians, he ruled over them for 16,000 years, one person.
What?
Yeah.
To quantum physics. Huge red flag.
We find that particles transphase in and out of existence, and they go to different dimensions. We even know now that some of our synapses of our thoughts in our brain phase out of this dimension and they go somewhere else, and then they come back again.
He's authored several books, including the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets and Woke Doesn't Mean Broke, which have further expanded his vast influence. Carson's self-taught approach has appealed with those who are disillusioned with traditional academia.
Who is Enoch?
You know that Enoch was a real powerful man because he's talked about in the Bible, yet his book is not in the Bible.
Which positions him as a maverick, epic, badass truth seeker playing hardball with the world of scholars. I think the appeal of his teachings is that he uses scientific terminology and intertwines that with different spiritual concepts and also conspiracies.
We have this gene in us, this worship gene, which was inserted into the human genome. We know this now because scientists have actually found the worship gene. You can turn it on and they can turn it actually off.
What?
Yes, we have a worship gene.
Carson's followers have found comfort in the idea that ancient wisdom could solve modern problems and that humanity's true potential has been hidden from them. I would love to believe that as well. But so far, I just do not see enough evidence to be able to see a lot of conspiratorial things as more than just fun, right? It's just fun entertainment. It's so absurd. Unless we're talking about the fact that Saddam Hussein was the reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar and he had a Stargate, and that was the weapon of mass destruction that caused George W. Bush to invade Iraq.
It sounds far-fetched, but this theory is widely believed.
Like, of course, unless we're talking about that. Forbidden Knowledge has grown into quite a lucrative enterprise. They offer online courses, conferences, merchandise, etc. Merchandising. Carson's net worth was already reportedly in the millions of dollars, and his brand is expanding into documentaries and podcast appearances. He's becoming more and more hip and influential by the day.
You can tell how many thousands of years the water took to drop inside the Sphinx's enclosure. So that gives you a great idea, based on real, actual, peer-reviewed geology, that this is much older than that. The Sphinx is much, much older than that. And that means that plateau was built around the same time frame.
He's a very successful entrepreneur who has unlocked secrets of both spiritual and material wealth. Oh, yes!
Examples of beliefs that keep you poor.
He's the CEO of Forbidden Knowledge, guys. That's where I go to for all my knowledge needs. Forbidden. Let's tap into what Mr. Carson actually believes. It seems that the core of his teachings lie with the enigmatic ancient texts known as the Emerald Tablets.
What I pulled out of these tablets is mind-boggling and absolutely paradigm-shifting.
He claims they hold the key to unlocking humanity's true potential.
My book, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, I list the words of Jesus and the words of Thoth, Atlanteans, side by side.
But what do these secret tablets really contain, and how does Carson interpret this message? And also, what are the Emerald Tablets? It's funny, really. The Emerald Tablets are believed to contain secret information on alchemy, cosmology, spiritual development, and they have captivated mystics and dumbasses for a long time, scholars for not that long. They're seen as pseudo-historical, and basically that they were kind of invented by a guy, it's a forgery, a hoax from a medieval alchemist, which is funny.
Why were the Emerald Tablets of Thoth left out of our history books?
Because they don't exist. They were made up by Maurice Doreal, who claimed he went to Egypt, claimed he found emerald tablets, and then claimed he translated them with the help of Thoth. The only problem is he never produced these tablets, and the reason why this isn't in history books is because Doreal is a charlatan who couldn't fool actual historians.
But Carson, on the other hand, posits that these tablets convey profound wisdom about the nature of reality and the universe and human consciousness.
The tablets date back about 6,000 to 8,000 years, but those tablets we discovered were recopied from even older tablets, which going back probably about 100 to 200,000 years prior. So we're talking about ancient knowledge.
I say the writing style closely matches the writing style of other writings from a similar time period and not from the writings of an Egyptian god of wisdom and writing. To be honest, it matches other guys. I don't know. And also Hermes Trismegistus is like a fanfic character. He's not even a real guy. The historical context of the Emerald Tablets is shrouded in mystery, I guess you could say. The earliest known mention of the Emerald Tablet comes from an Arabic text dated approximately 1,200 years ago, but this text seems to be a translation of a much older work. In 1925, Dr. Maurice Doreal, driven by the belief that the Great Pyramid of Giza was built to protect an ancient artifact, explored the area in search of the Emerald Tablet. Doreal claimed to have discovered 10 tablets, which he translated and published in the 1930s as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean.
It sounds far-fetched, but this theory is widely believed.
Very based, very red-pilled. This guy simultaneously translated a tablet that was written by a god in ancient Egypt, and also that he's from Atlantis. Pretty badass. In Billy's view, the Emerald Tablets are the bridge that bind ancient wisdom with more modern scientific understanding. He often draws parallels between the tablet's descriptions of energy and matter manipulation and contemporary theories in quantum physics.
So usually these gods or these kings or these really important people would have a scribe etching what they're speaking. He wrote these tablets himself and left them behind for this generation that we are in right now to understand, break down, analyze, and actually learn from.
There absolutely is some overlap, but people were smart back in the olden times. They figured out that the earth was round a long time ago, all right? And fundamental laws of nature that you can actually observe in your day-to-day life are mathematically provable and predictable and can be recreated. That's what science is. That's what science is. So, you know, it's like not that crazy to be able to draw bridges between contemporary theories and ancient claims. Carson's more controversial beliefs extend beyond the Emerald Tablets and into Christianity and other religious traditions, Abrahamic religions. He often challenges the conventional interpretations of religious texts. You know, the interpretations of religious texts that have a certain level of verifiable historicity.
I think Jesus was half human, half alien, and I'll tell you why.
He instead chooses to read disproven forgeries. That's where he gets a lot of his information, is from disproven forgeries, guys. It's a very important theme for this video.
The reason we know it's also not legitimate is because we can tie it directly to not copying from an ancient text, but actually copying from an online version of the Gospel of Thomas in a PDF form. And the mistake on that PDF form was copied into the text of that was borrowed in the phraseology. Jesus.
He suggests that there's a lot of hidden meaning related to extraterrestrial influence in advanced ancient technologies.
The person that's being considered to be God in the Bible, I don't think is an actual creator of the universe. I think we're mistaking the creator of the universe for different people that exist within that text that have been masquerading as gods, according to the ancient tablets.
One awesome example of Billy's beliefs and his yapping is him talking about blood types. Billy says that being Rh negative is a very rare blood type because it's only about 15% of the population. You can be AB, O, or plus or positive. But also Rh negative.
Rh negative blood type is a very rare blood type. Less than 15% of the planet have that blood type. As a matter of fact, I'm Rh negative.
And he says that he has to donate blood to himself because it's so rare. And if you have an accident, the blood bank will give you your own blood back.
My wife knows I have to go down to the local blood bank to donate blood to myself. And you got to do it every so many months because blood doesn't last forever. In case there's an accident, they tell you, look, you should donate blood every few months. In case something happens, they can give you back your own blood. You can infuse yourself with your own blood.
He said here that scientists call Rh negative blood types alien blood because it's so rare, even though 15% of the population has it, which is not that rare.
Scientists call it, they call it alien blood because it's so rare.
There are problems with Rh negative blood. Like, for example, if your mother is Rh positive and you're a little fetus inside your mother's stomach and you're Rh negative, there's a Rh incompatibility syndrome, rhesus incompatibility. I don't know much about blood, but I tell you what, rhesus monkeys, fun to watch. I'm not even sure if that is a rhesus monkey. That could be a macaque. I don't give a f, but I love watching that little monkey run, all right? That little sumbitch. Look at him. What the f? How'd he learn to do that? He says that scientists say that we're like aliens or whatever, and we're genetically altered. I'm not sure. My dad's RH negative, and he doesn't seem any different from me. I don't even know what the f my blood type is at all. So hopefully I'm not in a huge accident soon where I need blood. Sweet Billy also believes in various ancient civilizations and the fact that they possessed advanced technologies, and that the knowledge of those technologies and exactly how advanced they were has been lost over time. He's proposed on hundreds of occasions that extraterrestrial beings played a significant role in human history.
Now, this prior version of us, in my opinion, was probably more more advanced spiritually. I think that we had bigger bones, bigger skulls, bigger brains. I think our skulls have been found all over. I think they've been misunderstood in some cases, maybe even for aliens in some cases.
Including the genetic engineering of human beings.
Enki says, wait a minute, I have an idea. There's an existing being on this planet, existing. We can add our essence to it. So this is where they took one of the Ijiji, took some blood from an Ijiji, and it's not really quite clear how they did it or what they did, but in some way, it seems as if they combined that with the genetics of one of these hominids, our cousins, and they made a clone.
This is Ancient Alien stuff, you know, the History Channel, Ancient Alien stuff times 10 with less research and a worse vocabulary. The beings that he often refers to are the Anunnaki, and these people, these creatures, whatever they ruled Earth before people built the pyramids of Giza, the ancient Egyptian people, which again, supposedly that also contains an alien artifact, the Emerald Tablets. Thoth the Atlantean, apparently an alien, all right, apparently an alien. Shut up! Apparently these beings were able to obtain immortality and live forever due to this advanced technology, which allows them to transfer their consciousness from one body to another.
They're transmitting your consciousness, so everything is saved. All your information is saved. And we know that was done also in ancient times. Thoth talks in the Emerald Tablets about being able to go into these halls of Amenti where he had rejuvenation chambers.
Transference of consciousness requires more of the highly advanced technology Billy believes existed in the past. So he thinks there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't make a lot of sense. He really believes it too. This ancient technology belief includes using DNA to store large amounts of data, which would allow for teleportation.
But what's stopping us from teleporting a human being? Understanding and knowing the location of every atom and the rotation and spin rate of every atom. That's a lot of information, a lot of storage space. Now with DNA hard drives, the storage space problem goes away. We'll be able to teleport biological beings or objects, big objects, into space or wherever we want on the planet.
Like Star Trek.
Like Star Trek.
Whoa. Who's going to be the first guy to get beamed up?
Somebody's going to be a real guinea pig for that one.
Yeah, we're going to have to find some pedophile.
Because when you...
Another one of Billy's beliefs is that everyone is one entity, a collective consciousness, which I've heard a lot of people espouse that before, and it seems nonsensical. I don't feel connected to my fellow human beings, unfortunately. Sometimes I do, but only when I get to know them and I get to love them. What is wrong with you? What the f is your problem? She's like, no, Caleb. The collective consciousness is real. Can you not feel them? No, I can't. I'm isolated. I'm alone. I feel very alone right now. It's up. I feel terrible.
I think the biggest misconception that people have about the nature of reality is the fact that they believe that they are individuals and that they believe separation exists. They believe that everything exists that they see is actually solid matter. In truth, matter is 99.999% empty space, and there is no separation or individuality because everything energetically throughout the known universe is actually connected. This is provable by the double slit experiment, also by many other experiments that have happened in quantum physics, that we are all one.
In one interview, Billy states that there is only one consciousness and that two people having a conversation are just having a conversation with themselves. You are simply experiencing yourself subjectively.
Matter is 99.999% empty space, and there is no separation or individuality because everything energetically throughout the known universe is actually connected. This is provable by the double slit experiment, also by many other experiments that have happened in quantum physics, that we are all one.
Interestingly, Billy didn't seem to feel this way when having a conversation with himself, and by that I mean getting humiliated by Wesley Huff. That was a hard watch. Ooh, shit.
You have all this going on because of this text, which is set up so contradictory throughout its path across time. You get into the New Testament, slavery is still being condoned in the New Testament.
Was it?
Honor thy slave master as you would honor God or Jesus, it says. I believe. So
So,
in Ephesians.
well, it doesn't. It doesn't say that.
There's also some more questionable things which are just so mind-bogglingly dumb. I just don't get it. Remember that book that he wrote called Woke Doesn't Mean Broke? Billy Carson often integrates financial advice with spiritual teachings, and he speaks about the connection between spiritual enlightenment and material success. This to me seems like the antithesis of, like, it doesn't, being spirit just kind of not really give it, materialism is bad. It just feels bad. It just feels evil, and like we're contributing to something just meaningless and bad. And spiritualism is trying to find meaning in living, not money. You know, money hasn't been around that long. Materialism hasn't really been around that long, at least not for average people to take part in it. Both critics and genius scholars like myself have raised numerous objections to Carson's interpretations and claims, and academic experts in archaeology and ancient history and pretty much every single related field to what he talks about have disputed his readings of historical texts, his interpretations of those things, what he says about artifacts, arguing that his claims lack scientific rigor. Let's say that. They lack scientific rigor and often contradict established historical evidence. That is, provable, established historical evidence. Billy has claimed that we live in a binary solar system with 2 suns, which is awesome.
And the reason for the warming is because we are living in a binary solar system. There's 2 suns.
Right, I heard that.
Experts have clearly debunked that. And by experts, I mean myself. Because there's only 1 sun. Unless it's a deep state conspiracy effort to cover up the second sun. I'm all for conspiracy theories, by the way. I really like believing the more realistic ones. Like, for example, the CIA did kill JFK, in my opinion. You know, various commissions, etc. I mean, there's a lot of really questionable things, but the 2 sun thing, you're smoking crack. Like, let's be real. Have you just looked outside? Why would they hide that? Are you daft? Yes. What is the motivation? Well, if there's 2 suns, it means there's more meaning in life, and they're trying to get us down, and they go hang out in the Bilderberg group, and they go chill with the creature of Jekyll Island, and George Soros is there, and he's like really fat and old, and he's gonna die soon. At least I hope. Carson's impact has been relatively significant, regardless of his credibility. A lot of people feel empowered, and they feel a sense of purpose and meaning derived from his teachings, which is awesome. I really like that. But uncritical acceptance of just dumb shit is bad, especially when those things intersect with financial, real things. It's cool to just believe something. It's like enjoying Tolkien or watching Lord of the Rings and feeling inspired. You know, that's awesome. It's the same thing as what Billy Carson is teaching. He's just pretending that it's real. But as soon as it crosses over into the world of financial advice and saying Smaug will protect your bank account if you read the ancient texts of the Misty Mountains. No, as Carson's influence grows, the debate surrounding the false nature, the ridiculous nature of a lot of things he talks about, it intensifies. I like thinking about the reasons why people are drawn to conspiracies. What are the psychological mechanisms that drive people to embrace things that are just insane, and they just embrace them uncritically and then cling on to them when faced with criticism or evidence to the contrary of what they're believing? I mean, the Emerald Tablets, for example, and other ancient texts are so central to this. This is like Billy's whole thing. The promise of access to long-lost wisdom, unlocking humanity's true potential, the human beings only use 10% of their brain. Oh yeah, then shoot me in the head. What's gonna happen? Destroy 10% of my brain. What happens? I'm f***ed. All right? Ever heard of a lobotomy? There are quite a few psychological factors that show why people love this type of shit. Dr. Karen Douglas, a social psychologist at the University of Kent, explained, psychological evidence suggests that people are drawn to conspiracy theories when they do feel uncertain, either in specific situations or more generally. And there are other epistemic reasons why people believe in conspiracy theories as well in relation to this sort of need for knowledge and certainty. It's a desire for understanding and control. It's particularly potent, and when you combine it with the allure of exclusive or secret information or suppressed information that the powers that be are trying to get rid of, because if you figure it out, you'll be rich. But you have to read Billy Carson's book first, dumbass. It makes sense to me. Let me know if it makes sense to you guys down below. Comment, what's the dumbest shit you've ever found yourself believing, and then you're like, oh, maybe I should step back from that one. I'm getting dumber as time goes on. I'm believing more insane shit, to be honest with you. Billy is not the only spiritual leader, I guess you could call him, who is obsessed over the Emerald Tablets. Deepak Chopra and David Icke, we've talked about him before. They've both obsessed over the Emerald Tablets, but none of these people have been willing to debate actual experts in these fields ever. It just hasn't happened because it's not real. It's not real. What are you supposed to win the debate? Well, in order to win the debate, you'd have to be right, and you have to actually have facts and be able to provide those facts and bring them up. And that is exactly what happened with Billy and Wes. And that being said, by the way, skepticism in and of itself, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not naturally a skeptical person. I wouldn't say it's something I actively have to work at because I just accept shit at face value all the time. But I found that the act of skepticism or exercising skepticism sort of is like, can become, you automatically reject things that don't make a lot of sense. And that's just, it's not fun. Every position seems like it lacks maybe critical thinking, and it doesn't feel that helpful to just be like always skeptical of everything. That's why I feel like it's cool to entertain these ideas and kind of go through them and read and listen and watch, but maintaining that central kind of balanced critical thought. Like, oh, I'm not going to go into this believing this necessarily. Yeah, I absolutely am. Are you kidding me, dude? I'm gonna get rich as soon as I get woke. But obviously also not going into things, just taking everything at face value and being willing to research. For example, when I first read the Corpus Hermeticum by Hermes Trismegistus, I was like, okay, I got into it through ethics. I was researching ethics. I read some Spinoza, and then I went back to the guy who started it all, Hermes. And I was like, this is crazy shit. This is hard to read, for one. This guy's just yapping about nonsense. And then that led to the Emerald Tablets and the Kybalion and all this mystery. It's like, oh, there's a lot of people who believe that this is just like dogmatic almost. Like these are literal messages from gods. And then you find out that, oh, like the Philosopher's Stone and all this stuff, it's just kind of made up. It's just made up. That's not fun. But it seems to be that's the case. And there isn't really a lot of evidence that people claiming that those things are just made up and them not being real does anything. I mean, like if they weren't made up, then how come people aren't transmuting gold and just making shit out of nothing? As above, so below. Dude, do it, man. Do it. Prove it. Be the first guy ever. Be the first guy ever. It's like the Liver King not being on steroids. Be the first guy ever to do that without being on steroids. Just do it. Now, on to the debate that has caused a great deal of satisfaction for me. A great deal of satisfaction. I've been watching Wes Huff's stuff for a good while. This guy is incredibly respectful, intelligent, well-spoken, very well-read, and just it's difficult really seeing this guy talk to this guy. It's not difficult in the sense that it's hard to watch. It's difficult in the sense that like, ooh, this is gonna be good. You know, it's like an anticipatory thing. If I watch Wes Huff talk to Billy Carson, I'm about to see someone get schooled. Who let Billy Carson talk to Wesley Huff? Who? Whose idea was it? Yesterday, or 2 or 3 or 4 days ago, at the point that this video goes out, I'm not sure, but yesterday, Wes Huff uploaded the full talk between him and Billy Carson, which happened a while back, and a lot of things transpired after it. And it proved Billy Carson to be an absolute blubbering fool. The entire debate centered around Carson's controversial claims about ancient civilizations and extraterrestrial influences on human history. Believe it or not, that's what this guy loves this shit. It is important to note that Wes is a Christian scholar and I believe practices Christianity. And one of Billy's first claims was that Jesus was never crucified and might have been married.
The statement is according to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. And that Bible predates the King James Version of the Bible. And the text there actually is about 12 to 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James Version of the Bible, which came much later. You know, and then also one of the things that were interesting is that they discovered the book of Jesus' wife, which is at the Harvard Seminary, which according to some scholars, it's a little controversial, but they claim that this is an accurate record that Jesus may have even been married, which then, you know, adds more, if that's true, it adds more to the hypothesis that maybe he wasn't crucified.
And if you know anything about Christianity, you know that the crucifixion and then the resurrection are kind of like the whole thing. And the lack of marriage, kind of also the whole thing. It's like God in the form of man. And all of what he's claiming is according to something called the Sinai Bible, which is like Mount Sinai in the Middle East, right? The Levant. Billy claims that this text predates the KJV, which is the standard Bible that a lot of people, Southern Baptists especially, it's the biggest, most popular Bible that went ultra viral back in the day, and it was a huge trend and people bought the shit out of it. And Billy says that there are significant differences between the Sinai Bible and the KJV.
They put together their own version of the biblical text prior to the King James Version being put out.
Turns out, though, the Sinai Bible is not real. It is just a name on Amazon. When you look up Sinai Bible, it just kind of shows up. It's another name for the Codex Sinaiticus, which is the Greek translation of the Bible that contains both the New and Old Testaments. It's so embarrassing watching this happen live. Holy shit. Huff immediately disproves what Billy Carson is saying by showing Carson a copy of the Codex Sinaiticus that he himself finished. Oh my God, because he's an actual real scholar with real knowledge and abilities, and he cares about his craft, and he's not a massive grifter. Oh my God, this is so embarrassing already.
I work with manuscripts in my linguistic work. I'm an expert on early Christian scribal culture, and particularly in Greek and Coptic manuscripts. I actually have a facsimile. So I have a photocopy that was done by the British Library of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here. And the Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just a Greek, it's a 4th century Greek manuscript. It comes from approximately between 325 and 350 AD. And its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from.
Yikes. So Wes actually has the manuscript that Billy's referring to in his office, and he studies this for a living.
He instantly proves that it is a 3rd or 4th century translation of the Bible, and he also gives Carson the exact verse in the Sinaiticus where it says that Jesus was crucified, which instantly dismantles Billy Carson's argument. And all he does is go, and he doesn't blink, and he nods his head, and his eyes are dead. This guy's eyes are dead as shit.
Matthew 27. Where it has Jesus being crucified, and that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or the John 19. Actually, are you able to pull up a website with the viewers or listeners or whatever?
I'm looking for it right now to make sure I have the right the version that I'm looking.
This is the moment right here that Billy Carson knew he's in way over his head. So how does he respond? Billy's response to this was that Wes potentially had the wrong version of the Sinai Bible, when in reality, there is only one, and that he actually misspoke and meant the Gospel of Barnabas. By the way, he's talked about the Sinai Bible on dozens of occasions and has consistently said, it's the Sinai Bible, it's the Sinai Bible. There's no crucifixion in the Sinai Bible. Completely wrong. He's been spreading misinformation, disinformation for a long time. And the Gospel of Barnabas is just a forgery, it turns out. We'll get into that, though.
The Gospel of Barnabas is a really interesting document because it is a known forgery. It shows no actual indication of evidence of coming from or even having knowledge of 1st century Jewish understanding. And I think a bigger problem is that the Gospel of Barnabas actually paraphrases Dante's Inferno. Never mind the fact that we don't have any evidence of it prior to the 14th century.
So Billy says that the Gospel of Barnabas is actually where he got this information. And Wes says, right out of the gate, by the way, that the Gospel of Barnabas is a well-known forgery due to the time placement being possible because they paraphrased Dante's Inferno, which was first referenced in the 14th century. So something written in the 14th century, it's well past the time in which that writing would have any kind of significance in terms of early Christianity. Billy's response to this was just agreeing with Wes, which that seems like a betrayal if I'm a fan of Billy Carson, because that's a disproval of one of his most prominent arguments. This guy is so softball, he makes Oompaville look like a genius. Carson is referencing the Gospel of Jesus's wife, which is not held at the Harvard Divinity School, and in actuality, it is just a small piece of papyrus rather than an entire book. Furthermore, Wes goes on to conveniently explain that that piece of paper was in fact a forgery of a known online fake text because it contains the exact same errors that were made in the online PDF. It was replicated on the papyrus, and once again, Billy nods his head in agreement with Wes and doesn't even try to refute his claims. What a dumbass. This was supposed to be a debate, but in all reality, it is Billy agreeing with Wes after being embarrassed time after time, semi-automatically. One final epic argument that Billy claimed was that the Enuma Elish, or the 7 tablets of creation, are actually parallel or even the founding source of the book of Genesis. And Wes, I feel like at this point, is fairly fed up with Carson's dumbassedness, his outrageous claims, and he flat out denies any parallels between the two books and even said that the book of Genesis goes against the Enuma Elish because he actually understands ancient texts and has media literacy.
It's literally almost word for word from the Enuma Elish.
What are the parallels there?
Separated the waters from the waters, for example. That's in the Enuma Elish, and that's also in the biblical text.
In this entire debate, Carson didn't have a single argument or piece of evidence go his way. It was so embarrassed. He did not want it released. We'll have a link down below. Wes just put it out. I would love to see you guys watch this and see what happens. I mean, it's so entertaining. It's way better than this video. And this debate permanently damaged Billy Carson's credibility, if he had any at this point. He's actively acknowledging that he's wrong. Just prove, like, his followers have to know that he's a fool, right? He's acknowledging that he's wrong. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm wrong. What are you going to say in regard to that? Billy's always boasted that he'd be willing to debate anyone, but his confidence has clearly gotten the best of him.
You're open to debating anybody?
I'm open, yeah.
Okay, so if we set up anything with anyone else that's maybe expert in the area of topic that you know, you're okay with a panel like that?
Oh, yeah.
This recording happened a while back, I think back in October, and it has disappeared without a trace until recently. Some clips were revealed and they spread across social media. I watched one on TikTok. That's where I saw it, and I watched the key moment of Carson faltering and his embarrassment. It was awesome. This debate initially occurred back in October, and clips only started to surface recently, with this dude saying that he's being sued by Billy. Wes also saying he has a cease and desist against him. Apparently, Billy Carson showed up to a producer's door at 2 a.m. as well. I mean, this is so bad for him, and his misinterpretations of historical texts and archaeological findings just being thrown right back in his face by someone incredibly well-read and respectful, by the way. You know, there's no coming back from that, really. Your credibility is destroyed. A bunch of YouTube channels have talked about this and uploaded clips, and they've gotten copyright strikes from Carson himself.
I'm not going to review it until we know that I won't get a copyright strike.
His damage control is absolutely backfired. I hope that he tries to do something against my channel or whatever. If anybody wants to be platformed, like Wes, if Wes wants, I would love to interview Wes. That would be an honor. I'd love to even talk to Billy Carson, to be honest. That would be really cool as well. Seems like Forbidden Knowledge's brand is hurt forever, though. No need to send cease and desist. You can't sue these people for having a conversation with you. You think it's like a gotcha? We think it was so bad that the night of the interview, Billy at 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m., according to his shorts editor, showed up to his client's house with legal papers, and the whole thing was caught on a Ring doorbell. His client, Mark Menard, hosted Billy Carson during the interview. It was the guy sitting beside him. And this footage being released is the final nail in the coffin for Billy. There's no way to come back from this.
And because you got exposed for knowing nothing about Christianity, you freaked out. You freaked out so much that you were knocking at my client's door at 2:30 a.m. in the morning.
Now I got to handle that situation.
With legal papers, acting like you have the power to enforce some type of "you got served."
It made him look insane and desperate. And it's really, really, really bad. Now, what is Billy's response to this? He's an internet guy. He's got to respond, all right? He's got some insane theories. I'm sure he'll come up with something clever. The first piece of information that came out in regard to Billy and Wes's initial debate was a video uploaded on Wes's channel titled, "Billy Carson lost to me in a debate and is now suing me." In the video, Wes shows the cease and desist that he received from Billy's legal team. In the letter, Wes is instructed to refrain from using Billy's name, image, likeness, or anything on any form of media, and this extends to previously recorded material, aka debate. He wants this thing scrubbed. He wants it censored. He doesn't want this to come out because it makes him look like a dumbass. And if Wes doesn't comply, which he shouldn't, and I don't think he will, then Billy will pursue legal action for unauthorized use and violating Billy's personal and intellectual property rights. And Billy is prepared to seek substantial monetary damages for the harm it caused. But then Luckily, we got word from Billy himself late at night, December 8th, 2024. A live stream titled Billy Carson Exposes Fake Debate Video appeared on Billy Carson's YouTube channel. In this live stream, Billy refers to Mark, the individual who hosted the debate and was in person with Billy, a best friend, as defendant 1. Billy refers to Wes as defendant 2. He doesn't refer to them by name, instead as defendants.
But this organization that is defendant, I'm sorry, it's not defendant number 1. I'm not going to actually call him defendant number 2 because he's actually technically number 2 on the docket that we have.
He doesn't want to direct attention or clout towards them. I don't know. He calls them clout chasers and makes it abundantly clear that he's pursuing litigation against them and 2, potentially 3 other people, which is insane. Like, this guy has to realize this is a death sentence for his business and any shred of credibility.
The first reason is clout. These defenders, or defendants, I'm sorry, are actually clout chasers.
It's not a gotcha. It's what happens when a child debates someone with actual knowledge and understanding and respect for people's time and energy and their willingness to consume what they're putting out. Billy's first claim was that the entire debate was an ambush. He fails to mention that he voluntarily debated them. And apparently he was told that it was going to be a casual conversation and not a debate, even though his assistant said that he booked and briefed Carson on the fact that it was a debate.
I really didn't know it was going to be any kind of a debate. Okay, it's more like more of an ambush situation. And I have all the text messages to prove this, which are going to be in the discovery for defendant number 1.
Then he segues into the next point, which is it wasn't a real debate because it didn't have a moderator. Carson says, I understand what a real debate is because I've actually been in a real debate. There's a moderator that moderates.
Now, in a debate, the way that this works, I've been in debates before, real debates, okay? Like from school, the debate club, there's a moderator, a person that moderates.
This is a childlike response, genuinely one of the worst I've ever seen on the internet in terms of anything like this. Carson claimed that he couldn't get a chance to talk or respond, but if you watch the video, once Wes disproved him systemically from A to B, Carson would just agree and then move on to the next topic. I don't think having a moderator would have mattered at all. Billy's next gripe is that every time he would go to speak, his video camera would magically disappear and he would have to wait for it to reconnect before he responded. And there were some technical difficulties. This didn't hinder Carson's ability to speak at all. He hardly defended himself as is, and the camera going in and out wasn't affecting him.
Defendant number 2 video would just magically disconnect.
He also claimed that the live stream was heavily edited and that parts of the video were dubbed and that he was in a weakened state from a severe illness he had been dealing with prior to the debate, which left him mentally incapable of doing a debate, which is just every response possible, every excuse you possibly can make. This goober decided to just everything, every single thing. Such a manipulative response. Like, his audience has to be so stupid to believe this. Lastly, Billy claimed that Wes and Menard couldn't publish the interview because he didn't consent to the use of the footage, which this argument, like all his arguments, are baseless and extremely weak. He probably didn't directly consent to the footage being used, but he didn't have to. Billy agreed to go on the interview and be on camera, and that alone is like, you're voluntarily going, like, what? This isn't the ancient Egyptian world where Anunnaki rules apply. This is like, you know, you can't voluntarily get yourself into a shitty situation that makes you look like a dumbass and then pretend to be the victim. It's crazy.
I never gave any authorization or consent. That now makes the video illegal to use with my likeness, my face, my voice.
The comments are so bad. I can't imagine being Billy right now. One of them said, Billy, everyone is just wondering why. If you're really in the pursuit of the truth of our realm, why don't you just admit you're wrong about some stuff and learn with your followers? That's what people who truly are in pursuit of truth would do. This is likely because Billy is a fool and he is driven purely by ego, not by truth. He's driven by materialism, not by truth. He is a absolute goober with no respect for human beings. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that one. I really am a big fan of this entire situation. I'm so glad we could put together an entertaining video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, press the like button. I'll see you in the next one.